Today's guest is Tony Kang. Tony is an established chef located in the metropolitan area. He's worked in hot and trendy restaurants such as Swallow, True North, and Wild Ink. Tony's even appeared as a contestant on Food Network's Chopped. Tony shows you that cooking is a true art, and he's really an artist. If you get a chance, take a look at his Instagram account, Asian Bronson. I have one disclaimer. If you're on a diet, you might not want to go there. So, with no further ado, Tony Kang. How you
How's
doing?
everything?
Good, man. Thanks for joining, Tony. How you holding up, man?
I'm holding up, man. Barely, but holding up.
Yeah.
How about you?
Rough. I'm okay, man. You know, it's rough, but you know, things are hopefully getting back to normal. We'll see.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. So, anybody listening, I know Tony from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. How far back we go? Like 7 years? When was that? Like,
Oh man, probably I think since like 2012.
2012.
Yeah, Jimmy, you remember Monks, Jimmy Munkamanga? Big
Yes.
Indian dude? Yeah, his cousin Cyril.
Yes.
Um,
Cyril, I know.
yeah.
I know. 455. Yeah. You still friends with him? You talking to him? So I haven't talked to him in a while.
yeah, I'm still friends with Jimmy. You know, he's a police officer in the city, so he's
Yes.
doing his thing and staying busy. But yeah, he's the one who introduced me to you guys at Comac MMA. Oh no, it's Gracie Baja
Comac.
at that
Yes.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Gracie Baja on, was it Comac Road or something?
On Comac Road.
And
Yeah.
it became Comac MMA, and that's how I met everybody, and that's how I met you. So
Yes.
yeah, it's been like 8 years now.
8 years, man. Time flies, man.
Yeah, time flies. Holy cow.
Goes quick. So Tony, where'd you grow up, and what type of foods did you enjoy as a kid?
I grew up mostly on Long Island. I grew up in the Comac area.
Okay.
Most of the food I ate was at home. It was a lot of Korean food, but I always try to. Back then, I always wanted to fit in to the Western culture.
Sure.
So it was always like, you know, Mom, Dad, get me McDonald's, get me pizza, get me, you know, what I thought was American food. You know, like get me, you know, cheeseburgers and meatloaf and fried chicken and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, I grew up eating a lot of different things, but, you know, I try to stay away from the Korean food.
Yeah.
I was always like, oh, I want to fit into the American culture and, you know, I want to make more friends.
Sure. You know, the big problem with Korean food, right, is that our food is so, it's got such a pungent smell, right? It's like strong.
Oh my God, yeah. All my friends used to come over and be like, oh my God.
What happened? Somebody farted in here?
Yeah. They're like, oh, it smells like feet and ass. I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, that's kimchi, bro. I'm sorry.
That's kimchi, man. I'm sorry about that, man. It's like,
I'm so
you
sorry.
can't take that to school like lunch, man, because everybody's going to walk away from you, you know? It's
That's the thing is my parents didn't know any better. So if they didn't pack sandwiches for me, it'd be like bibimbap and kimbap and kimchi. And I'd be like, oh no, what the fuck is this? This is so embarrassing.
You want me to have friends or not?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. But it's so funny now.
Now it's in. Now it's in.
Like,
Yeah.
no, you bring bibimbap or kimbap to school, all the kids are like, holy shit,
like,
I'll
yeah.
trade you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll trade you my Lunchables for a Vitaland.
Yeah, I know.
How times have changed. It's
Times have changed, man. Like
times have really changed.
What'd you say? Like within the last 10 years, right? Like Korean food became a lot more hip, a lot more trend, especially in the city, right? I mean, everybody in the city eats Korean food.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I remember like the last time I was working in the city, just seeing people eating yukijang, you know, which is bread broth, super hot. It's got brisket, it's delicious, you know. But they're like eating it, they're like sweating, you know. It's like,
they love
man.
it. It's like
they love it.
For some of them, it's like a challenge. Still, like, I want to see if I can eat the spiciest Korean dish or like the hottest Korean dish. And yeah, it's crazy how times have changed.
Totally. Which is, I mean, it's good. It shows that people are a lot more open-minded now, a lot more, you know, worldly, I guess, in that aspect. You know, with the food.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So did those foods that did Korean food have an influence on your cooking later, or did you try to like, really cook like more American style, or what? I mean, being Korean, I'm sure, like, because there's so many, cooking is such a big deal in Korean culture, and it's, but what was your experience, or did that early childhood experience seep over?
Even in the beginning of my career, it was because I started off as a cook in the restaurant business in Long Island. So Korean influence was not a big thing back then.
Okay.
So my beginning stages of my career is mostly French cuisine, Italian cuisine,
Okay.
Mediterranean cuisine, and the chefs would always be like, "Yeah, I love kimchi. I love Korean food. I just wish like I could implement it somehow." And I would be like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, let's think of a way where we can, kind of mix, like European influences with Korean influences and see what
Nice.
happens." And the more I got comfortable cooking and the more I progressed in the business as a chef, I started to really use, the Korean flavors with Italian flavors, Hispanic flavors, the European flavors, because in actuality, a lot of the cuisines melds with Korean cuisine. There's the element of heat, acid, salty, a lot of fermentation. Like for Italian cuisine, for instance,
Mhm.
they use a lot of onions and garlic, and they use a lot of fish sauce
Mhm.
in certain parts of Italy. So I say, hey man, kimchi has all of that. Let me try making a bolognese with kimchi as the base.
Wow. Okay.
And I experimented making what we call family meal. Is when the staff all sits down together and eats. I say, you know what?
Mhm.
Let me fuck around and make a bolognese with kimchi.
Cool.
And I made that, and one of the owners I was working under was like, "What is that? It smells amazing." So I said, "Try it.
Yeah.
It's bolognese." So he tries it, and he's like, "Holy fuck! You make It's like you make better Italian food than most Italians I know." I'm like, "Nah." I was like, "There's a secret ingredient in there that you're gonna be shocked." He's like, "What is it?" I was like, "It's kimchi." He's like, "Get the fuck out of here! It's amazing." Uh, so ever since that, I got more comfortable adding my Korean background and heritage into my cooking.
Mhm.
So people that follow my Instagram, they'll see like, oh my god, he did something from Spain and he
Yes.
added some Korean influences to it, or he took an
Yes.
Italian dish, and
Yes.
so for me, it's not about uh, uh, you know. Mixing it up in like some dumb way. Like I
Mhm.
try to keep it respectful in all cultures. I don't want
Sure.
to make a pasta dish that's like predominantly kimchi, or make like a
Right.
French dish that's predominantly Korean flavors. Like I try to make it so it's balanced, where people can say, "Oh wow," like I can see that it's the influences from this region, but I can also taste the Korean side of it. So
Sure.
I try to respect all sides of the cultures.
All the cultures that are involved. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that's the problem. It's like if you put too much of one, especially with Korean, right? It's so strong, right? It's going to overpower the Italian. It's going to overpower,
Yeah.
the French. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So it shows how good of a chef you are, that you can keep that respect, keep that flavor.
No, yeah, especially yeah, like you said, Korean flavors are just like in your face.
Your face.
I'd say 80% of the Korean dishes have no balance. It's either like really pungent,
Yes.
really
Yes.
spicy,
Yes.
or just really like too natural.
Yes.
Like byokguk is
Yep.
just bones. It's just
Yes.
bones boiled in water.
Water. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all you taste. So things like that. I try to finesse it where it's like, okay, I can fuck around with it and try to make
Yes.
it work.
Yes. That's awesome. So Tony, was cooking encouraged by your family? Like, was your Oma is mother in Korean, was she very like, Tony, like showing you how to cook? Because I know in a lot of Asian cultures, the men know how to, I know how to cook too. I'm not great, but I know how to cook because the Korean moms would have their son pull their sons and go, look, you do it, And so
That's very true. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Surprisingly, it was not my mom
Okay.
who pushed me to cook. It was mostly my dad. My dad
Really?
loves to cook.
Oh,
My
wow.
dad, yeah, my dad is a fantastic cook. I mean, this guy,
Got it.
his chickens and cooks and all that is just phenomenal. And
Uh-huh.
the way he makes like samgyeopsal, which is like pork belly,
Yes.
it's just phenomenal. But my mom is excellent at making side dishes. She makes
Okay.
the most incredible
Just banchan in
panchans.
Korean. Side
Yeah, like
dishes, yes.
her panchans are just out of this world.
Uh-huh.
Whereas my dad makes all the just great main dishes. Um, but they never really encouraged me to
Okay.
cook.
Okay.
They actually didn't want me to be in the restaurant business. They said, I don't want my son to work so hard. I don't want my son working for people. But then they also, typical Asian parents are like, no, you have to be a doctor or lawyer. I'm like, okay,
Yes.
that requires no work. Like, come on,
I
man.
know, right? Right.
If actually, if anything, that requires more work.
Yeah.
So
And
I
you'll
always found
be a
that
lot
to
more
be,
miserable too.
yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be in debt. I'd still be in debt. But it was actually, they really didn't embrace me being a chef until I started getting like a little bit of recognition here and there for my work.
Yes.
And then it really blew up once I was on Food Network is when they were like, oh my God, my son is a chef. Hey, look, everybody. I got to brag now. Oh, your son's a doctor and lawyer. My son was on TV. And,
Right. Right.
like, oh my God. I'm like, that's what it took for me to be on TV.
I know, I know. Korean parents are tough, man. Korean parents are tough. If you don't fit in that mold of lawyer, doctor, or engineer, if you're doing something else, then they're like, go into those areas because that's where you need to be. But, ultimately, that's not for everybody. You're not going to be happy
Exactly.
doing something
Yeah.
like that. You're forcing yourself to do something just for the paycheck. And in the end, especially if you're an artist, because I think chefs are artists. You're an artist, Anybody who can see Tony's Instagram is Asian Bronson. And don't look at it. Don't look at that page if you're hungry or if you're on a diet. It's not conducive for those two things. But beautiful like display of a combination of food. So anybody really look at his Instagram. But yeah, it's tough with Korean people. But so when you were on Food Network, were you talking about when you were on Chop?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
we
Chop
actually filmed this. Yeah, we actually filmed a segment of it at Gracie Baja back in the day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I unfortunately I fell out of jiu-jitsu because just my hours never really let me do it. And then
I missed him.
once I said, once I decided, okay, I want to go back to jiu-jitsu, then COVID happened, and I'm like, oh fuck, of course.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely want to come back, and I definitely miss the old crew. Professor Tom and you and
Zuno, Eddie Zuno.
Yeah, Eddie Zuno. I love Eddie Zuno. I miss Cyril and Jimmy, and then grappling with all you guys. That was always fun times, and it was also a good way to vent. Jiu-jitsu really helped me because back then I was going through a really rough patch, like just an incredibly rough patch. I was going through a really bad breakup. I was like under the weather. I was drinking. I was, getting involved in some really bad things.
Yes.
And then literally Jimmy was like a hand from God, just pulled me up and was like, motherfucker, let me introduce you to some jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in no shape for jiu-jitsu. He's like, shut the fuck up. You're gonna do jiu-jitsu. And then
as I remember, you're damn strong, man. I remember you're pretty strong, man.
That was all Jimmy. He put me on a strict diet. He made me lift weights like 2 times a day. And
it showed, man. You're crazy strong. But yeah,
that was all Jimmy.
You're so right about jiu-jitsu, man. It just like balances. Yeah, for me, I worked in corporate America for a very long time, and I fucking hated it. It was just a paycheck. I fucking hated it, and I was suicidal. But if it wasn't for the jiu-jitsu, man, that really kept my shit together, man. Because you go to train, and then after you train, like all these irrational thoughts that you had, they're kind of gone. It's like you took a shower or something mentally, right?
Yeah.
So you feel like you can
continue.
It's washed away. You can feel like you can continue. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to have you back. Hopefully, once this COVID, once you figure out what's going on with this stuff. But
I'd love
Going
to go
back,
back.
when you were on Chopped, can you tell me about your experience on the show? I know it was, it's cutthroat, man. They don't give you that much time, and you got to produce something magical within like 20 minutes, and they give you a limited amount of ingredients to choose from and stuff. But I know it was a while ago, but can you give me a little recap of what?
Yeah, we filmed back in 2011.
Okay.
The episode aired in 2012. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. They don't give you time or they don't give you shit. It's like you go into the studio at 5 in the morning.
In the morning.
They give you a cup of coffee and like a quick breakfast. And they give you a tour of the studio, and then it's like an hour and a half of like talking about rules, like confidentiality rules, non-disclosures. You have to sign so many waivers. And then they literally throw you in the kitchen and say, all right, this is the basket. Good luck. You have 20 minutes to make an appetizer. I'm like, holy fuck. So you open the basket and 20 minutes is 20 minutes. They don't say, okay, cut. We have to refill, reshoot. No, it's 20 minutes. Once they say time starts now, you better be quick on your feet and just run. If anyone's seen my episode, it's 90% of me is running around like a fucking idiot. So I run around like a fucking idiot for most of the show. But it was hard as fuck, but it's also fun.
Right.
I made a lot of friends.
Yes.
I became good friends with the guy who won, Corey, amazing chef, really talented, super nice guy. He has like 3 or 4 restaurants down in Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
So if anyone's in that area, go check him out. I don't remember the name of his restaurants off the top of my head, but if you look on Instagram, Corey Bar, Bahr, he's such a super talented, such a humble, nice individual. Me and him instantly bonded on the show. I bonded with a lot of the crew members on the show. Like, they're just so hospitable, just an amazing group of people. But that show stressed me the fuck out. I think on the train right there, because back then I still lived on Long Island.
Yes.
And the studio's in Chelsea Market, so I took the LIRR at 3 in the morning.
Oh my God.
to get there. So I remember getting a beer from 7-Eleven and just kind of pounding it on this train just to calm my nerves.
5 in the morning or on the way back?
On the way there.
Oh, wow.
Like 3:30 in the morning, I'm pounding like a Bud Light and just like trying to calm my nerves. And then once I got there, I still had a beer in my bag, so I'm in the locker room getting changed and getting uniformed. And I took the beer out, and the makeup lady was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm nervous as fuck right now. Let me just do this." She's like, "Okay, no, do your thing, man." She's like, do your thing. I can see you're nervous, you're shaking. I'm like, "Yes, this is,
Wow."
It's like, and it wasn't even the cooking part I was nervous about. I had confidence in my skills. It was like being on camera and like all the. You're on TV. You're an actor. It's like it's so nerve wracking watching 100 people stare at you through a lens and being like, okay, don't fuck up.
You're on, yeah.
Yeah, you're on. Don't fuck up. Like,
don't fuck up.
Millions of people are gonna watch you. So be on your game. It's like, oh my God. But I mean, the experience was fun. If I could do it again, I would. It's like a lifetime ago. It seems like yesterday, but it's a whole lifetime ago being on that show.
I know time moves fast. Do you remember? I watched the show. I remember you had a little drama with somebody, right? You had some drama going on there with somebody on the show too. I don't remember.
No, it wasn't drama. The funny thing is, what I became known for on that show wasn't even like my cooking or like the personality. It was. So they kind of trapped me. They set the casting, not the casting people, the producers kind of trapped me. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, so these are your judges. What do you think about the judges? And one of the judges was Amanda Freitag. And I said, I went to all the judges. I'm like, yeah, Aaron's cool. Aaron Sanchez, great chef, great Mexican chef, pioneer, And then Mahit. Mm-hmm. I was like, great, Indian chef. Her flavors are amazing. And then when it came to Amanda, I was like, yeah, I really don't know much about Chef Amanda, but I'm like, yeah, I think I have a thing for her. She's kind of cute. And,
I love Tony. Always speaks what's on his mind, man. I love it.
man, yeah, you gotta these days. But the producers and like the people doing the interviews were like, "Oh, so tell us about that." I was like, "Well, what's more to say?" You know, like she's a very attractive chef. Like, what can I say? She's an attractive woman.
Right.
And they're like, "We're gonna go with that." They're like, would you ever cook for her? I was like, yeah, I'd be intimidated, but I would cook for her.
Yeah.
And what would you make for her? Would you take her out on a date? Where would you take her on a date? And they like trapped me into this little honey pot.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, chefs are really low key, so I'll probably take her out on like a cheeseburger date and get some beers. And they were like, okay, we have it all on film. I'm like, you motherfuckers, like, come on, man. So,
oh man.
Yeah, so they had me like all trapped and set up, and I was like, oh man. And then that became like the premise of my history on that show was like, hey, he's the sweet, adorable guy that's in love with one of the chefs and one of the judges. And that's what people remember me for. They don't remember me for any of the dishes I made or any dumb shit I did. It was like, hey, you're the guy who's in love with Amanda. Hey, did you ever go on that date? Hey, what happened? What's going on? I'm like, other things happened on the show too. And they're like, no. Tell us about Amanda.
Yeah, people are always into the romance. You know? That's why the romantic comedies are so popular.
They love that romance and drama.
Love that romance stuff. But what did you cook? Do you remember? Like you cooked.
Oh man. First course was like a smoked corned beef with.
Yes, looked delicious.
Oh my god, it was like panko crusted smoked corned beef with I think olives or something, and fuck me, I don't remember the first course. The second course I remember because I remember Chef Aaron was like, "This is probably one of the best things I've ever had." I'm just paraphrasing it. Yeah. He said something along the lines of like, "This is one of the best things I've had," or "This was the best fish I've ever seen cooked on the show." It's like he said something like that. For entree, I did it was like a seared striped bass, and one of the ingredients was canned cream of mushroom soup.
Oh, nice.
It was cream of mushroom soup, striped bass, lemon head candies, and something else. And I made a seared crispy skin striped bass.
Delicious.
I made like a beignet or fritters out of the cream of mushroom soup.
Nice.
And then, I made like a ginger vinegar sauce with the lemon heads. I melted down the lemon heads with made like a gastrique, and did something like that. And then like a arugula puree. And I remember Aaron was like, "This is literally the best fish I've had in all the seasons of Chopped." And I was like, "Holy shit, man, that's pretty badass." And then the dessert round. Shockingly, I made it to the dessert round. I made fuck did I make? For dessert, I made I made a gelato and chocolate chip cookies, but they complained there wasn't enough gelato on the plate, so that's why I lost. But it was fucked up because my competitor made bread pudding, and what they didn't show on the actual episode was them saying like, the bread pudding's undercooked, it's raw, we don't know if it's edible.
They cut that out, okay.
Yeah, so they cut that out, and I think a part of it made it in. I think just like a snippet of them saying like, that's a little undercooked, that made it in. But the whole judging time, they're like, it's raw, you can still see the egg in the bread pudding. So mentally I was like, oh shit, I'm $10,000 richer, nice.
Yes.
And then when they lifted up the cloche and it was my dessert, I was like, fuck, man. But winning or not, it was a great experience. The love I got from people, especially with the small community of jiu-jitsu artists we had. Like I remember Professor Tom was just like so proud of me. He was like, "Hey, come on here. You're getting a stripe just for being on Chopped." I was like, cool. And then all you guys like cheered me on was like really, really amazing. And then
it's awesome.
then going to like the like going out in public and people being like, "Holy shit, you're the guy in Chop. You're the guy. We just saw you on TV." And I'm like, something like that. I was never used to because growing up in a small town in Long Island, I was like always, especially being Korean American, I was always kind of like not popular and like just kind of like on the back burner. And then to see the same people in that community being like, "Oh my God, you're Tony Kang. I saw you in Chop." It was like a big shock to me because I was not used to, and still to this day I'm not used to that kind of
attention.
Attention. So it's good. It made me appreciate like the hard work I put in.
Sure.
It was never like, after that, it was never like, "Oh fuck, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, it's I don't get paid enough for this shit."
Right.
That became like, I love cooking, I love being in the industry, I love cooking for people and seeing them smile, and then trying to fix the problems. If I get a complaint from a guest saying like, I didn't like that dish or whatever, in the beginnings of my career, I would get mad if someone said, "I didn't like this dish" or whatever.
Take it personally. Yeah,
I take it personally. I'm like, I spent so many hours putting that dish together. It's not just like I think of it off the top of my head and I go, "Okay, it's on the menu." I have to go through a lot of trial and error and recipe testing and all that, and using a lot of my boss's money on ordering the ingredients.
Right.
So I always take it personally. But after Chopped, I said, "You know what? Fuck it. Like, I have to cater to the people. They're paying for a delicious meal and for an experience. I can't be so egotistical and be like, 'Fuck you, that's my dish. Get the hell out of my restaurant.'" So it's I've matured ever since filming Chopped.
Wonderful, awesome. So Tony, what type of foods do you enjoy cooking when you're not in the restaurant, like for yourself, or stuff that you like to experiment with? Is there a particular style, like Asian fusion, or are you like more French culinary or Italian, Korean?
When I'm not in the restaurants, I haven't worked since March because of COVID. But when I'm not working, I'm very low key. It's like a sandwich or shin ramyun. Like I'll eat shin ramyun and with an egg and call it a day.
Okay.
Especially after like a 13-hour, 14-hour day.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
After cooking for like hundreds of people, I'm like, I don't want to come home and be like, "All right, lobster tails and foie gras." Yeah. So but lately, because I've been stuck at home, I've had time to experiment and really just kind of work on my craft and see where my food belongs in the food world. Like I'll try different ingredients. I've been researching a lot of like, I've been down to Puerto Rico the winter. So when I went down to Puerto Rico, I just tried all their food, and I was like, you know what? I think I could make a dish similar to this, but with my influence. And so I've been doing a lot of that, and I've been doing a lot of the older I get, the more comfortable I am cooking what I know. When I was younger, in my 20s, it was always like, I want to make the most extravagant, most creative, badass dish.
Yeah.
And I'd say 70% of the times that shit would fail. People would just be like, "I don't get it." Yeah, they'd be like, "I don't get it. What is this?" But once I hit my 30s, I was like, fuck it. Like, I just got to cook what I know, like what I'm comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And, I cook a lot of Italian food. I cook a lot of Korean food. I cook a lot of Latin food. Mm-hmm. I'm big on like Mediterranean flavors, so I try to do like really simple, clean flavors from the Mediterranean. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my cooking background was cooking Spanish food from Spain.
Nice.
So, like I've been messing around with like paellas and tapas and pinchos and all that, but doing it like with a lot of Asian flavors, like doing like Chinese sausage pinchos and, Japanese flavors and Korean paella with kimchi and
Right.
seafood and
Right.
pork. Because seafood is also big in our culture. I think a lot
Yes.
of people forget about that. That seafood is very big in Korea. I
Yeah.
think people see Korean food. It's like kalbi, bulgogi, samgyeopsal,
Yeah.
spicy soups, and I'm like, no, we have a lot of seafood too. So
Yeah.
I've been messing around with a lot of seafood dishes
Mhm.
with Korean influences. So when I'm at home before COVID, when I got home from work, it was like, all right, make a peanut butter jelly sandwich or shin ramen, and that's it.
Right.
But now, since I have nothing but time, it's been, just coming up with like the craziest, but the most simple shit I can make.
Yeah. So that's the great thing about having like an ethnic background is that we grew up with Korean food especially. There's just so much that goes into like every dish. There's so much vegetables that are cut.
Oh.
I'd watch my mom. She's like cutting all fucking day.
Yep.
There's like everything, every type of vegetable you can think of is like thrown into this simple dish. But it's not so simple because all those vegetables take time to cut, right?
Yep.
Whereas where it seems like Italian or French, it's not as many different, I guess, vegetables that they're putting in. They're just kind of highlighting that one vegetable that they are cooking, right? So that's that aspect of Korean food that, I guess it makes you work. They make you work, right?
Oh my god, yeah. Korean food is for a little bit last year. I was the chef at Hanjang, which is a really well-known Korean restaurant in the
Newtown?
it's in 36th Street,
Okay.
right by Madison Park and all that.
Mhm.
And I literally did not know shit about Korean food besides what like kimchi jjigae that I know how to make.
Right.
And it was very intimidating because I was working for Chef Hooni Kim, who's the first Michelin-starred Korean chef in New York.
Oh my God.
I think in America.
Okay.
So he got a Michelin star. It was the first Korean restaurant to ever receive a Michelin star.
Really?
And that was Tanji. And Hanjan was his sister restaurant. And I was working at Hanjan, and the amount of ingredients that go into like one dish was overwhelming. It would be like, and it wasn't like ingredients that made no sense. It was all cohesive.
Yes.
It was so much prep work. Like for one chicken, it would be like an hour's worth of prep. Like we had to cut the vegetables and the onions a certain way. We had to literally like, weigh out every ingredient. Like because how our parents make it, it's like spoonful of this, a cupful of that, and that's chicken.
Right.
But Chef Hooni really like, instilled the discipline into me, and all the cooks were like, he's like, you have to really taste everything. He's like, the doenjang today will taste different tomorrow because of the aging and the humidity. He's like, the humidity plays a huge part in the gochujang and the gochugaru and this and that. He's like, you have to weigh each ingredient every day and taste the raw ingredients.
Right.
And you have to adjust every day. And I'm like, holy shit, like I never thought about that.
Right, totally.
Watching my dad cook, he would always be like, rough chop everything, get the shit out of it, throw it into a pot, and that's jjigae, and that's cooked or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, Korean food is like so. It's not like other cuisines, like French cuisine, like you said, or Italian cuisine. It's like they showcase that one ingredient or two ingredients, where Korean cooking is you have to showcase a variety of ingredients in one dish.
Yes.
Bibimbap is the perfect example. Bibimbap is, if one vegetable tastes fucked up, then the whole dish is fucked up.
Yeah.
The bibimbap, you could have like 12 different vegetables.
Yes.
And ingredients. So it's like if one strand of something tastes fucked up or off, it ruins the whole dish.
Whole thing.
So,
and then even the rice that they use for some bibimbap, like I find that, the smaller split rice, I guess, seems to be a little bit better than with the bibimbap. I mean, you can use any rice, but then it's not the same, like the places in the city that have good bibimbap, there's a lot of vegetables. They're cut exactly at a certain size, to highlight, like you said, each flavor. The rice is a little bit different, maybe even the gochujang. The gochujang is bean paste, and I was wondering, or that might even be different too, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You know, there's literally like 100 different uh, brands of gochujang. I didn't even know that.
yeah.
You know, so like we would do like gochujang tastings, and you could taste each different brand's like unique style. You know, one would be salty, one would be sweeter, one would be very gritty.
Yes.
One would taste like just raw chilies, and
Yes.
so figuring out which gochujang to use, or even gochugaru, people, they take it for granted. Like, it's gochugaru, who the fuck cares? But I'll tell you this: you use the wrong brand or the wrong type of gochugaru, it ruins the whole fucking dish. And yeah, and I've gotten yelled at by Chef Huni for using like the wrong gochujang. He's like, "Did you taste the gochujang before you put it in the marinade?" I was like, "Yeah, chef." He's like, "Then why does this marinade taste different from yesterday?"
Yeah.
I was like, "It's the same gochujang we've been using in the recipe." He's like, "I always told you, taste the fucking gochujang." So yeah, he'd be like, taste the gochujang before you use it, because I told you the humidity and the atmosphere, it affects it. I'm like, "Oh, sure. I'm sorry, man." And
yeah,
it was a great learning experience. But like I said, it's like Korean food is so intricate. It's literally hours of work for one dish, and that's why I think compared to like French cuisine, for example, like French cuisine is more technique driven.
Mm-hmm.
French cuisine is all technique. And that's not to bash French food. I love French food.
Right.
But French food is straight technique. You take one vegetable or one ingredient, and you have to highlight that ingredient as best as you can. There's no hiding it. There's no like, if you fuck that one ingredient up, then you've insulted the entire country of France. But whereas like I feel like Korean food is, especially for old school Koreans, they can taste the soul. They can taste the love you put into it. Even if the ingredient is a little off, they could really taste it and say, "Wow, you really put your heart into it and put a lot of love into it." So I think that's what differentiates, I think, just Asian food compared to Westernized food.
You bring up a really good point. I mean, my mom is a spectacular cook. Everybody says so. But I think you cannot replicate the way my mom cooks, because she tastes and she modifies. She tastes, and it's impossible to replicate it. But I think a lot of what you were mentioning, a lot of her like heart is in it. She enjoys to cook. So when you eat her food, you can feel that there's this enjoyment. There's this. It's transmuted from the cook. That's why it's an art, to the food. And I've heard even certain foods at certain places, like a restaurant might be very old in a certain location, and the food from there may be just a regular hamburger or I don't know, whatever, French fries, but whatever the atmosphere of this place is, whatever the air is, the climate, it comes out a certain way that you can't replicate it. It tastes delicious, and it's only for that one place. That's the
exactly
about cooking. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's like if you go into like a perfect example, I'd say it's going back to Italian food is, you taste the Italian food that's modern or that came out like a few years ago, like Italian restaurants, and you taste the Italian food from a place that's been around since like 1890 in New York. It's a huge difference. You can taste the soul of the old school Italian Americans. Like if you taste a meatball from one restaurant to a different restaurant, you can taste the soul and like the energy. You taste that old school recipe, and there's something about it that just makes you feel good. Like it makes you feel warm. You feel like you're at home. And I refer back to a lot of Italian food, but I feel like Italian food has, just like Korean food, has so much soul. Italian food's not just like red sauce and chicken parm. There's so many nuances, just like Korean food. Just so many like sofritos and bases and how they make the sauce. Like I always compare like, and I don't mean to insult any Italian people out there, but I always compare like the way they make the red sauce or their sauces to how Koreans make kimchi. Like for me, a good Italian restaurant, like the soul of the place is their sauce, their gravy. Just like the soul of a Korean restaurant is their kimchi, and how much attention you pay to making the process of making it one cohesive dish. And to me, like a good Italian place is like a place that's been around, since the 1900s. Like the old school recipes, using the ingredients that were available at the time, because that's what Korean food is. At the end of the day, it's using the ingredients available. I mean, who the fuck in normal situations, who the fuck would eat a soup made out of beef bones and seaweed?
Yeah.
It's like you have to, you have to make the best of what you're given. And I feel like same with Latino food. There's a lot of soul. There's a lot of like if the sofrito is off, the whole dish is off. If the chilies are off, you're just not gonna have a good time. And I feel like for me, those three, Korean, Italian, and like Latino food have a lot in common when it comes to I'd say the history and the heritage, and like just cooking with what you're given and making the best of it. And that's why I always like try to cook those three from those three cultures.
Is there? Can you name some of your favorite chefs and what about them that you like?
My first chef, my mentor, he passed away last year, unfortunately, out of nowhere. Chef Michael Maroney. I think he's like the pioneer of tasting menus in Long Island. His restaurant was well known for his like just crazy tasting menu in Maroney cuisine in Northport Village. He was the first one to like take me under his wing, and show me everything. Just show me how to cook with soul, how to respect the ingredients. And he gave me a chance. He gave me a job as a dishwasher, but then he moved me up eventually to like prep cook, to line cook. He showed me how to use a knife and all that. And unfortunately, he passed away last year. So that for me was like a really hard loss. Then I worked under so many great chefs. Let me see, a chef named Paul Miranda. He was on Iron Chef at one point, and he's like an amazing chef. Took me under his wings also, and like just really pushed me to be the chef I am. He's one of those guys that never took like no for an answer, or like I can't. There was no I can't in his vocabulary. And any days I felt down and I'm like, I can't do this, he'd be like, shut the fuck up. Yes, you can. He's like, you're better than how you think you are. He's like, you really doubt your skills. You're really better than how you think. Like, just do it. He wouldn't care if I fucked up a dish. He would be like, you know what? You tried, you fucked up, you learn from it, you move on, and you make it better. You learn from it. And he would never because a lot of the chefs I worked for yelled. They were screamers, yellers. Yeah. So if you fucked up, it's you knew you fucked up. They let the entire staff know you fucked up. They'd be like, I worked with one guy. He's like, get this motherfucker out of my kitchen. He fucking sucks. Where someone like Paul Miranda and James Chinnis of Swallow in Long Island, they really just embraced fucking up. They were like, if you fuck up,
you learn.
You learn, and you pinpoint where you fucked up, and you fix it. They never yelled. They were like, oh my God, get the fuck out of my restaurant. Get the fuck out of my kitchen. You suck. They were always like, nobody sucks unless they want to suck.
Right.
Like everyone has the skill, especially someone who's made it, 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the industry. They're a firm believer that nobody sucks unless you really suck. But they always push me to be great. James Chinnis, he back in 2011-ish, he let me take over his restaurant as the chef de cuisine, because he went to open a restaurant in Montauk. So he's like, Tony, this is yours.
Oh.
He's like, do whatever you want, just make me money.
Yes.
I trust you.
Oh.
And that he also pushed me to see my potential. Because a lot of my career, I always doubted myself. you know, in a lot of the kitchen, I was like the only Asian person in that kitchen. And, you know, especially like in a predominantly French kitchen or, you know, like a kitchen full of like, Latin cooks, you know, working with like El Salvadorians, Mexicans, Peruvians, things like that. And being like the only Korean guy, it was always like, I always doubted myself. I was always like, I'm not as good as these guys. You know, I got to work twice as hard. And I felt like there was always a target on my back. Like if I fucked up, you know, I would hear about it.
Sure.
So I would always have to hustle harder. And then I met, you know, the James Chinnis, Paul Miranda, John Burnett, amazing people. And they always like, without making me become cocky, they always put me on the pedestal. You know, they always push me just to be better than I was yesterday, or even better than I was an hour ago. You know, if lunch service was good, they would say, make dinner service great. You know, and then they would come back the next day and be like, lunch service was good yesterday, but let's just make it great because I know you can make it great. So they always motivated me. So I think those four chefs were just always amazing. And I took a lot of influence from them. So it's like Mike Maroney, James Chinnis, Paul Miranda, John Burnett. You know, they're not the guys you're going to see on Food Network and selling cookbooks and, you know, cookware on the Shopping Network, or, you know, they're not like the multi-billionaire restaurant owners. But to me, that doesn't matter. You know, it's how they personally took care of the people that work for them that really affected my career. You know, it made me realize that I have to appreciate the staff I'm working with. I have to appreciate the people that are working next to me because they're working just as hard. And, you know, yelling and screaming and cursing and throwing shit at them just, you know, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So they made me really realize that I have to appreciate everything and everyone from all forms of life and, you know, all backgrounds, all nationalities.
Yeah, I mean, again, like cooking is such an art, you know, and I'm sure that there's big personalities and there's people, but there's also people that are willing to help, that realize that, you know, like you said, you know, if you want to be a cook, you're going to try to do the best you can. That's just basically the way it works. You know, you're not going to be a chef just to glide by like you would be when you're working in corporate America and just waiting for a weekend. You know, you're going to be a chef because you want to create something nice. You want to create something delicious. You want to create art. And so everybody's in there to produce a good job, you know, and these mentors you're talking about, obviously they realize that, you know, it's so much that image of like a Gordon Ramsay, like freaking out on everybody, screaming at everybody, you know, but I'm
that's
sure,
all for
you know,
TV.
That's only TV, you know, and it's for the ratings and stuff.
Cooking is, to me, I try to weed out the people who are like, this is just a paycheck for me. If that's your attitude, then those people can fuck off and get out of my kitchen. I want the people who want that instant gratification of serving a dish for guests, and that guest telling the server, like, please tell the chef that that was the best thing I've ever had. And
that must feel so good, you know.
If I have a member of the staff who doesn't react to that, who's just like, I don't care, they can fuck off. You know, they're not welcome.
They shouldn't be a chef.
They shouldn't be a chef. They shouldn't be a cook or in the restaurant at all. You know, like if it's just a paycheck for you, you know, like, you know, there are exceptions to the rule. Like if, you know, if you're an immigrant and it is a paycheck for you and that's your livelihood and that's kind of something you fell into, that's fine. But if you went to culinary school and you spend all this money on yourself and then your attitude is, I don't give a fuck, guess what? I don't give a fuck about you. Get the fuck out of my kitchen.
Exactly. You know? There's something seriously wrong with you. So as a chef, what are the essential tools and instruments that you need to be a chef? Like what is the you know, like in jiu-jitsu, you need to pass the guard and you need to how to use the guard. And the same thing, like when you're cooking, what is the tool? What is the main tool that you need to have? What do you say, Tony, that you need to have to be a chef, the real chef? Like what is the core weapons?
Well, I remember my first few months in jiu-jitsu, Professor Tom would be like, because he would see me try to use my strength to push someone off.
Yeah, because you're damn strong, as I remember.
If someone took side control or was trying to armbar me or try to put me in a triangle, I would try to use my brute strength or whatever. But then Professor Tom pulled me over to the side one day. He's like, Tony, you're doing it all wrong. He's like, relax. He's like, I see you have heart, but just relax and focus and and just use your mental clarity to make your next move. And that coincides with being a chef is you need to have mental clarity, you need to focus, you need to have heart. I think that's the biggest thing is you need to have heart. Even if just like Professor Tom said, even after I got submitted, people are like, don't worry about it. Everyone gets submitted.
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry about it. Just focus on the next round. And that's exactly what being a chef is. You just focus on, you can't dwell on, oh my God, like I had a bad service. This dinner service sucked. You just got to move on. Shit happens. So the number one thing for me, in my opinion, to be a great chef or even a great cook is to have heart and to have mental clarity. You can't dwell on the past. You can't dwell on an hour ago, and you can't dwell on the future either. You can't be like, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? Yeah. It's like, shit like that is, I'd rather have 100 people in my kitchen that are subpar cooks, but love cooking and love the aspect of creating, rather than someone who's really good at cooking, but has a shit attitude and dwells on the past and like can't move on. Because I've worked with a lot of people like that. They'd be like, oh, yesterday sucked, fucking shit, fuck that, fuck these people.
Yeah.
And I would always be like, how come you're such an amazing cook? Like you cook the most amazing food, but your attitude is shit.
Yeah.
And it's all about attitude, because I feel like happy chefs and happy cooks create happy food.
Yes.
And I guarantee you that every guest that goes into a restaurant can taste the mood of a kitchen or the staff, just based on how the food tastes, how the food is plated, how detail oriented they are.
Sure.
It's just like jujitsu. You have to be detail oriented. You have to kind of like, if you're getting armbarred, you have to like kind of stop and be like, all right, how can I get out of this? What can I do, instead of just being freaking out and be like, fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, like being a good chef and a cook is just really having good what we call mise en place. Mise en place in French means to have in place, to have everything set up for you where you don't fail. So if you're going to be busy, don't cut like 1 quart of onions. Cut 6 quarts of onions. That's mise en place.
Yes.
Be prepared, exactly. So I always tell my cooks and my staff, like, forget about just regular mise en place. Have your mental mise en place ready. Like, be prepared for, a bad review, a bad reaction, a good reaction, an amazing reaction. Yeah, just little things. And, you really have to have that mental clarity and that heart. Cooking skills can be taught, but character cannot be taught. I cannot teach someone to be a generous human being or a caring human being in the kitchen. No matter how great they cook or how bad they cook, I can always teach cooking skills, but I can never teach how someone to behave like a human being.
Sure, absolutely. So Tony, if you were given all the money to open up any type of restaurant that you want, sky's the limit, decor, food, what would you open?
This answer shocks a lot of people, but it would be a sandwich shop.
A sandwich shop?
Yeah.
Sandwich shop. I give you the money right now. Let's open up a sandwich shop.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I've always floated around this idea of doing like a not like a Subway's obviously or like a deli, but I've always wanted to do like a really cool badass like a sandwich shop and also serve like traditional Korean soups. How like soup and sandwich, things like that. Like I said, man, how good would like a samgyeopsal sandwich taste with like the getnip pesto and gochujang sauce or whatever, and then serve it with a bowl of like yukgaejang or kimchi jjigae to dip your sandwich in.
Oh wow!
And I always say, man, that'd be badass. Even if even if a sandwich idea is overplayed, like I could go into any place and get like a meatball parm or whatever, but there's very few places where I go into that's a sandwich place and I'm like, holy shit, I'm blown away.
Yes.
So I was always like, I want to create a sandwich shop where people go in, take a bite, during their lunch break,
Mhm.
and be like, holy shit, I can only get this sandwich and this combo or whatever here and here only.
Right.
So yeah, that's the surprising answer is everyone's like, sandwich shop? Why the fuck do you
Yeah.
want to do a sandwich shop? Like you've been cooking for 20 years now. You want to do a
Yeah.
fucking sandwich shop? I'm like, hey man, if it makes money and it makes people happy, then that's what I care about.
What about a food truck? When I was in the city, one of the food trucks I loved was a Korean one called Gorilla. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, Korilla's awesome.
Gorilla, it's nice stuff. But it always had like a long ass line.
Yeah.
That's when I knew Korean food made it, because it was like 2 blocks down just for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you ever entertain the idea about like a food truck or?
I did, but New York City makes it impossible to get like a license for like a food truck. Last time I researched like getting a license and all that, it's like a 5-year waiting list.
5-year waiting list? Oh my god!
Yeah, like I could be dead by that time. Like I want to do a food truck now. So,
Exactly. 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years is a long fucking time.
Yeah.
So that kind of went out the window. I still thought about it. Like when I went down to Puerto Rico this past year, I said, "Oh man, there's like a park that's dedicated for food trucks."
Oh wow. Okay.
And I was like, "Oh man, if I ever move down to PR, like I can do it." And it's the laws are very lax down there when it comes to opening a business. It's not like New York where it's like you need all these fucking licenses.
Up there.
Yeah. Over there, it's like you apply for a license, you do whatever, get all the paperwork done, but it's pretty instant. It's like, okay, get a truck. There's your property. That's where you can park and whatever. And even with that, you can park at the side of the highway. And they won't give a fuck.
Right.
So I said, all right, if I do a food truck, it'll be down somewhere where they appreciate it or where it's easier. But New York, it's just impossible to do anything. So
Sure. What do you think will be the new normal for chefs like yourself because of this coronavirus fiasco?
Man, that's a tough one because, yeah, I mean, this really set everyone back. I know so many friends of mine that had to permanently close their restaurants. And it's the new norm. It's like, what is a new norm at this point? It's you laid off hundreds of employees.
Yes.
And the new norm, I really hope the new norm is the old norm where people just go and, cook good food and enjoy good food.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard because restaurant business is very finicky. Yeah. If you're not operating at 100%, you're already in the red. You're already failing.
You're in the red,
so, yeah. So just to be like, oh, you can open, but it's for takeout only, and you can only do outdoor dining. Yeah. I'm sorry, you're losing money. So if that's the new norm, we're all fucked. All chefs, restaurant workers, employees, owners, they're all fucked. And the thing is, it's like, it's a double-edged sword. If we raise the prices, people complain. Why did you raise the prices on this? Last year was $10. Now you're charging $22. Like, well, this is the new norm. If we have to. Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword. It's like we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. If we raise the prices, people aren't happy. If we keep the prices down, we lose money.
Sure.
And we can't operate and pay, the staff and the utilities and the ingredients. And also like quality suffers,
Sure.
I'm forced to get cheaper ingredients because I have to operate and try to pay my staff, their weekly checks.
Sure.
So hopefully I'm really hoping the new norm is just the old days, it makes it sound like we've been fucked up for like years, but like I just wanted to go back to what it was 4 months ago when it was packed restaurant, cooking good food, happy customers, happy guests. But I just can't see people operating, wearing a mask 12 hours a day, sweating their dicks off. Operating, trying to cook and then only operating with like 6 tables outside with takeout. It's not sustainable. And it's, forget the restaurant, it's the people that I worry about more, the people that have so many bills and families that this is their livelihood.
Yeah.
And now we're telling them like, sorry, I can only give you part-time work because we have 6 tables outside. Like, it's fucked up in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think at a certain point we just, I might get a lot of flack for this, but we have to bite the bullet. We have to go back to a semblance of normality, and the restaurant business has, I mean, I know most people are tired of cooking at home, going out to eat. That's a basic pleasure that everybody enjoys, and if you're a bad cook, you really want to go to a restaurant, sit down in a restaurant,
Yeah.
So to take that out of our lives makes everybody miserable, and I just don't think, I think regardless of what happens, that eventually we'll go back to what it was 4 months ago. I think there's no way around it because people, they're not going to stay hidden in their home for the rest of their life.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially people that like want to celebrate a big anniversary or or some big event, something great happened in their lives. They want to celebrate. I'm sure they don't want to make rotisserie chicken in their house for that occasion.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I've gotten a lot of flack for saying something like this. Is COVID real? Yes, I believe COVID is real, but I think the fear mongering from the media made it a lot worse than it is. Yeah, it's tremendous. And I've gotten so much shit for people saying like you're insensitive, you're being selfish.
Yeah.
I'm not being selfish. I'm just being real. Like, if no one told you that COVID existed and and it was just like a normal flu season, would people say, "Oh wow, it's COVID"? No, people would say it's probably the flu because people die from the flu, people die from pneumonia, people. Unfortunately, it's the facts of life. Is people die, and I'm not trying to sound insensitive. I'm really not. But if no one told me that it was COVID during the flu season, I would think it was the flu.
Yes, exactly.
And like I said, I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm not trying to be a dick, but when you take away the livelihoods of people, not just chefs or whatever, but just everybody that's been affected, if you take away the livelihoods, and not just for like a week or two, but for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, that's kind of like, well, what do we do? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, where do you go from here? Exactly.
Yeah, where do we go from here? And to the people who miss birthdays and funerals and special occasions, it's like, it's kind of like people saying like, well, sorry, fuck you.
Right.
That's the new norm now. You're going to miss everything. Fuck life. Fuck your life.
Yeah. That's not a way you want to live, man. That's not the way you want to live.
Yeah, you don't want to live like that. And, hopefully they come up with something, a solution real soon because, I'm more worried about the people that are trying to make it in life. People that come to America that before COVID, let's say they came in like January and they're like, all right, I want to live a new life. I want to live the American dream. And they get a rug pulled out from under them. It's like, holy fuck, what do we do about that? I feel like, people like you and me, people like our parents, our friends, they'll find a way to maintain and survive.
Mm-hmm.
But all the people that are new to this country or people that were trying to make it, all of a sudden it's like a big fuck you to them.
Yeah. And,
going back to our parents, it's like, they came to this country with barely anything in in their pockets and they try to make it. And they, for the most part, we made it.
Yes.
But the people that want to make it now, it's like, I feel so bad for them. My heart goes out for them. And it's like, we can't do shit about it. A GoFundMe page can only take it so far. For the thousands of people that are like new to this country or new to this state and being like, I want to live the American dream or I want to make it in New York. Now it's like, I'm sorry, fuck you. And that's the sad part.
That is the sad part. Well, lastly, Tony, are you married?
I'm not.
Are you dating?
Yes.
You
yes,
are?
Kind of, yeah, I guess. I don't. I don't really delve into the privates,
Okay, so I was going to actually promote that Tony was available, but Tony's not available. So sorry, ladies.
I'm available for catering and I'm available for cooking classes and private chef and things like that.
Okay,
So
cool. Very
yeah,
cool.
people can definitely reach out to me about with things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, and if anybody's interested, yeah, I mean, you should be interested after listening to this. Check out Tony's Instagram, Asian Bronson. You can see some amazing food. And again, my warning disclaimer: if you're on a diet, don't look at the page. And if you don't want to eat that day, look at the page. But thanks again, Tony. I really appreciate the time. We got to get together soon, man.
Absolutely, man.
You know, when things clear up, let's train, man. You know,
I'm
I
down.
teach in the morning.
I'm so down.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks,
All right,
Tony.
thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.